So I am a bit of a gear-aholic or a gear connoisseur, gear acquisition syndrome, whatever you guys want to call it. I fall victim to that probably more than I should, more than I want to, because I can't tell you how much money I've actually spent on this channel. My wife probably wouldn't be too happy if I revealed that number, so I'm actually gonna keep it to myself. But today, I want to show you and break down some of the stuff that I actually have bought over the course of the last year that I thought would help me with my journey, and some of the stuff that necessarily didn't necessarily. How do you say that? Didn't necessarily. But today I want to show you guys some of my favorite pieces of gear. So I'm going to show you my top 6 pieces of gear that I still use to this day that I don't know that I could live without. And then a few notable mentions, maybe things that I actually don't use as much as I thought I would. I bought them with an intended purpose, but then quickly realized that actually that's not for me. If you are new to the channel, my name is Zach, and as the channel name implies, I am a novice at content creation, but not necessarily cameras and filming stuff, not filmmaking or making movies, because I don't do that. I do a lot of budget work, and mostly that's what this channel is about. It's kind of documenting my journey, and so if I find out something, maybe it's useful to someone else that's watching these videos, that is what this channel is about. So if you do want to stay up to date with where the channel is going, what I'm going to be doing in 2025, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and let's go ahead and jump right into my top 6 favorite items, starting with the DJI Mic Mini for $169. I recently picked this up. I actually have an entire video on my channel, which I've linked above if you want to see that, but this is one of my favorite microphone sets just because of how compact it is. Inside is actually where you can house everything. So you can actually include the 3.5mm cable, you can put the dead cats on, you can have the receiver. It's a whole setup. If you actually have the USB-C or lightning port adapters, which the USB-C adapter is kind of stuck on my receiver. If you have the other adapters, everything fits in this case. The only thing that doesn't fit in this case, because someone wanted to make a comment about it and it kind of did get under my skin, I'm gonna be honest, is the charging cable. Someone went and they were like, oh, this guy, he's just pushing the microphone because he wants people to buy it. Could not care less if you buy anything from this channel. If you want to buy something, obviously it's a little bit of a kickback. It does help this channel grow. If you do want to support me, that's an easy way to do so. I'm not here to sell anyone on anything. I'm just here to provide my unbiased review. Sometimes I will get sent stuff from companies, but this is not something that was actually sent out. I bought it with my own money, and it's probably one of my favorite pieces of tech gear. This one is my favorite just because of how tiny and compact it is. You know, obviously this little transmitter can clip onto your shirt. It can go via a magnet, and so it can just stick on. So maybe I'll just leave that there for the rest of the video. The only thing that doesn't fit in this case is a USB-C cable. And honestly, if you are any kind of photographer or videographer and you don't have a USB-C cable in your bag or in your pocket, there's got to be something wrong with you, because my iPhone is USB-C. My computer is USB-C. Everything that I own now is USB-C. For someone to be like, oh, it doesn't include everything because it doesn't have the charging cable, joke's on you, because almost everyone has a USB-C charging cable. I have a big jacket on today because it's actually freezing in Florida, and so my entire house is in the 60s, which for most people, you're gonna be like, that's not that cold. For me, that's cold. I can just go ahead, I have a little pocket in here, and if I wanted to, I could easily, maybe not so easily, put it in my pocket. And so that's where it's gonna live for the rest of the video. And this is going to be controversial because I actually did get this. It wasn't a sponsored piece, but they did send it out to me. This is the INIU or INIU Cougar P63. Honestly, this is not something that I would normally consider making a video on because I don't know that it pertains to photography or videography or really this channel in general. So I was a little reluctant when they actually did reach out. If you guys are watching from INIU, I'm really sorry. I'm not bashing the product by any means, but I'm more just bashing the idea. This has become one of my favorite pieces of tech gear. I use this all the time, but not actually for the right reasons. So anytime I have something on my camera that needs a battery, it needs to be charged, this is what I use. This is what I bring with me, because I have like several Anchor 6-foot cables and I just plug everything into this power bank. This is actually what I sit on my couch to edit my videos with because I like to be cozy. Usually I'm editing this stuff at the end of the day, so my wife and I were watching TV on the couch, and I usually have this in my lap plugged into my laptop because I don't have an outlet nearby. This is how I do it. This is what works for me. I love it because it's 100-watt power delivery. super portable. If I didn't already have the microphone in this pocket, I'd put it in this pocket to show you. This is one of my favorite travel accessories because it's also TSA approved, and because I travel a lot, I fly a lot. I'm actually going to a conference this weekend, and this is something that I'm gonna be taking with me because I need to make sure that my phone is powered, I need to make sure that my computer is powered, and I need to make sure that my iPad is powered, and I can do all of that with this little power bank. Speaking of things that need to be powered by the power bank, this is my Ulanzi fan, and this is one of those items that I kind of thought was a gimmick. I actually stumbled upon this from Mark Bennett's Camera Crisis, so he's probably one of my favorite YouTubers, but this was something that he recommends for the Sony ZV-E10, which is actually the first camera I had like 2 weeks before I started this channel. I thought, man, I'm gonna sell it, and so I bought the Sony a6700 thinking it was going to be so much better. I thought it was going to be a gimmick because literally it's just spring-loaded. But this fits on the back of my Sony camera, and you just turn it on. I'll show you right now. It's actually pretty quiet. So here's off, here's the screen. There's level 1, level 2. There we go, it's picking up speed. So yeah, so you just clamp this onto the back of your camera, and that little fan in the back will just go to town. It will keep your camera cool. It's in Celsius, which here in the States, I don't use, I use Fahrenheit. So typically speaking, I have to convert it on the fly. I don't know what it should be at, but my camera ranges around 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. This allows me to actually record for much longer periods of time. We actually use this camera for work. This is my personal camera, but I use it as our live streaming camera. And without the fan, I maybe streaming in like 4K 30, I will get about 35 to 40 minutes of streaming. If I use the fan, this thing will pretty much last me at least an hour and a half. I know people say that this camera doesn't overheat, but that is not my personal experience. I've actually found that this camera is very unreliable when it comes to overheating. And so that is just one of those nuances where this does come into play. Now, the battery life on this thing isn't all that great. It is rated for allegedly 70 minutes, not 70 hours. If this thing lasted for 70 hours, we need to talk, Ulanzi, because I need that technology. But no, it lasts for about 70 minutes on the highest setting, which isn't a whole lot, but paired with the power bank, I just plug these two in together. This thing will last me as long as I need to stream, because this thing is gonna last me just about all day. Now, this is actually something that I've been including in several of my recent videos, but I actually have to get up and grab it to show you because it's my little light. Okay, so this is my Amaran 25C, and I'm trying to reframe myself in this. Yeah, if you can't tell, it's pretty bright. I'm actually gonna turn it off for just a second. It is full RGB, it is color changing. It has green magenta color shift, which means as the light actually gets older, you can accommodate for it. I actually learned that from a Gerald Undone video, so credit to him. This light is really cool because it does have a bunch of different modes. So if I do turn it on, whoo, that sucker is bright. I can change the saturation, so I can make it more warm, less warm. However, if you do only want to do like the standard 3300 Kelvin to like 6000 Kelvin, then you could also buy the 25X, which is the bicolor option. I think it's like $70. So if this is $99 or $90, it's like $20 to $30 less. That is a great alternative from Amaran. So I'll link both of those in the description to this video. Now this one is a bit of a mouthful, and I only actually use this when I go and I travel or I take photo or video outside during the daylight, especially when it's really harsh. This is my variable ND plus CPL filter from K&F Concept. And honestly, I was super skeptical on getting a combined filter just because I actually forget that this is a CPL filter at times. From here, you probably can't tell, but this is how the CPL moves. And then down here, this is how the variable ND moves. You can probably see it's getting lighter and darker. Probably one of my favorite accessories. And I bought this one specifically because a lot of filters have vignetting, and this one doesn't. This one doesn't have the weird X in the middle. But something that is worth noting is the glass is a bit of a green shade. And in my experience, I find a lot of my photos actually come out very warm, so I have to compensate a lot in post. I have to make them a little bit more cool. If I were to probably buy this again, I would probably just buy a variable ND filter. You cover a lot more ground. The CPL is good, especially if you are doing something with a very low shutter speed, if you are doing something that is photographing a car that has a windshield that's got a nice reflection on it. That's a lot of what I do. I love automotive photography, but that is when the CPL filter might be beneficial in addition to the ND filter. This is about $77 for a 67mm filter. I'm actually trying to step up all my filter sizes to 77, and I'm going to use filter adapter rings just because I think it looks cooler. And I think that with other lenses that I want to buy in the future, that's going to make more sense because most APS-C lenses are anywhere from 67 to 77 millimeters. This is a really cool filter. It has a great little carry case. The carry case is actually really nice because you just plop it right in there, and then it's got like little magnets on the top. So great buy, $77. Anyways, this is my last one, and this is something that's kind of borderline useful and useless, and that is actually my Magic Arm from Neewer. Every company seems to make one of these. I just bought this one because it was on sale. When I bought it, it was from Amazon. There are different ones from Small Rig, from Ulanzi. I bought the Neewer one. It's the 10-inch model. It does have the included clamp. And then down here is actually what makes it a Magic Arm. It's a lock. That's all it is. You adjust it as you need to. It does have 1/4 threads on both ends. This one is just threaded into the clamp, and then on the clamp you actually have a 3/8 thread as well. The only thing that I complain about is actually the little rubber grips on these. They get torn up super easily, and especially on the clamp, I struggled to get this tight. That was my biggest gripe. I have tightened the ever-living crap out of this. It is not coming apart. I thought I was going to use it more, and I want to pick up another action cam. I did have the GoPro Hero 12, and I recently gave that away to a friend that wanted to start a YouTube channel. So I'm looking to pick up a new action cam. I think I'm leaning towards like one of the DJI action cams, but if you have a recommendation, let me know in the comments below because I do want to pick one up probably in the next couple weeks. This is something that I bought because I was going to have an action cam, and now that I don't have that, I don't use it. I could probably use it to mount like my Amaran light behind me, and that would be useful, or I could use it to mount other stuff, but maybe we'll talk about that in a second. This is the part of my video. It's gonna be a little weird because I bought this stuff and all of these products are really good. I just don't use them, and I don't have necessarily good reasons. I thought I would use them, but I just simply don't. And the first one, and it's probably my biggest gripe, I hate that I bought it and I don't use it, and that's actually the Ulanzi TT38. This is a tabletop tripod that with the flick of a button it has a button on the front, so it's actually more of a lever type. I brought this with me to Germany, and I told myself I was going to vlog, I was going to film, everything was gonna be great. And then I ran into a slight issue. I set everything up, I put it on the table, I had it as my little vlogging setup, and I noticed that it wasn't necessarily that this didn't support the weight of the Tamron 1770, but instead, because of the weight, it actually tipped, and I couldn't ever get it to like level out. Every time I would start filming, I'd get maybe like 15-20 seconds into the clip, and the tripod would slowly fall over, or it would fall to the side. And so it's great if you're vlogging. It has a little hook on the bottom, so if you wanted to hook it to something, like if you wanted to hook it to a park bench or to a wall, you can easily do that. I don't know that I necessarily trust it. And part of that is I actually want to sell my 17 to 70 just because I want something lighter. I'm actually looking at the Sigma 18 to 50 because I think that works better for my use case. Hopefully I will start to use this a little bit more in 2025, but for the time being, I don't have a use for it. Something that is completely useless, and maybe I should have led with this one, is actually this little BB Nano blower. And so, as you can see, it's a mechanical blower. It has an internal battery. It can be charged via USB-C. And I thought that this was going to be the fix to bringing like the manual one. I don't actually own one. I just own this. And so if I want to clean my camera sensor, if I want to clean my lenses, I thought that this little guy would be perfect. This just doesn't have enough power behind it. And maybe that's just in my case. Maybe the dust that I'm blowing off is just harder dust than what this can do, but it doesn't blow hard enough. That doesn't sound right.
That's what she said. Oh, no, no, no.
In most use cases, like if you're just blowing off fine dust, sand, little things, it's good, but like the bigger stuff, this doesn't seem to get it. If it's like sticking to my lens, it's mediocre. I want to say that I paid like $40 for this thing, but it's okay. It's not something that I really love. I bring it with me every time I travel somewhere, but I don't find myself using it. Typically, I just kind of go for a microfiber, especially if it's on the lens, and I just wipe it off because this doesn't seem to get the job done. Now, this is the last item, and I bought this with really good intentions, but I found myself not drawing towards it, not going towards it, because it's a little mediocre. I'm 50-50 on it, and that's actually my Neewer FZ100 battery pack. The batteries themselves are okay. If you are looking for just a simple, cheap battery, I wanna say these things are less than 50 bucks. They come with 2 Sony non-authentic batteries, and they're good. Like, they look very simple. They look very similar to the Sony batteries. However, if you know what a authentic Sony battery is, they have like the little green ribbon that's reflective. They say they offer the same charge, the same battery performance, but they simply don't. These things, if my normal Sony battery lasts 3 hours, these last maybe an hour and 45 minutes, if that. When the camera actually gets hot, these batteries die very, very quickly. And so I actually find myself going from one battery to the next. They're just okay, they're mediocre. I use them in a pinch, but they're not my go-to. Now, the case is good because the case is actually very efficient. The case charges everything, it's powered via USB-C. I bought it because it said it was actually a power bank. I was under the impression that I could plug my phone into this and actually charge my phone with it. Instead, I charged these with my phone, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. It does have a little slot at the top for your SD cards. And I cannot seem to figure out how to consistently get these open. Maybe I just have really big fingers. They're supposed to open like this. You're supposed to be able to put a SD card in them. So don't judge my cheap micro SD cards. You're supposed to be able to put an SD card in them, slide them out. However, it gets stuck on the battery. So if you have a battery in here, it gets stuck. And then the other thing is, once it's closed, to try to get it back open again, it has a lot of force. If you want to make sure that your SD cards don't fly out, that's a good thing. But if you do need to get your SD card out in a pinch, that's a really bad thing. Kind of 50-50 on this one. If I was giving all these things star ratings, this would be like a 4 out of 10, just because the case itself is really good, but the batteries are just mediocre. This is going to be a very interesting year for me. I'm actually thinking of changing up the studio environment. And because of that, I'm gonna be buying a lot of stuff. I'm gonna be trying a lot of stuff. And so you'll see a lot more content over the next coming weeks. With that, I just wanna thank you guys and each and every one of you. I am going to get a little bit more consistent with this stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you do want to pick up anything, I have linked all of these products below in the description. They are affiliate links that do go to supporting the channel, and I am not trying to sell you on anything specifically. If I am, I'll let you guys know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.